My name is Lemuel Bradshaw, and I am here representing three things. I'm doing triple duty. I am the Director of Communications for United Tissue Resources, and I'll tell you more about what that is in a moment. I'm also here representing organ, eye, and tissue donation. I'll talk to you about that. That is the reason that I'm here. And lastly, I am here on behalf of Donate Life Texas. That is something that belongs to you and I, and I'll tell you what I mean by that. That was me starting my clock, because what I also am, and my wife will attest to this, is an only child diva. I will only agree to the only child part. What she says is the diva in me is that I can make any conversation a lecture. I'm talking to you rather than us talking to each other. They've given me 20 minutes or so to do some of that, but at the end, we're going to have a chance for you to make Mrs. Bradshaw wrong. Can the people in the back hear me? Because usually I don't need a microphone. I am also usually very loud. So first and foremost, I am honored to be here on a night dedicated to education and fashion. Education is what I do. Fashion is a sideline, but I think I do it well. You notice that I'm wearing all blue and green, and I have socks that even match the occasion. They are Donate Life, blue and green, and I'm in a room where someone outdressed me for the occasion, and I have to thank them for that. The reason that I do it is to draw attention to myself, because if you look at me, perhaps you'll hear my message. You guys are giving me your rapt attention, and today's topic is organ, eye, and tissue donation. As the Director of Communications for my organization, it is a privilege, I get to tell people about my passion and why I do it. So let me tell you first why I do it. Why is there a need for me to come to occasions like this and talk about organ, eye, and tissue donation? And forgive me, because I put slides together especially for this occasion, so every once in a while I want to make sure I know where I am in this lineup. Here is the need. As we have this conversation, there are 103,765. I had to look because I updated that just before I got here. That's the number of people waiting on an organ transplant, organ transplant only. Almost got ahead of myself. Organ only in the United States. And of those, 10,265. That number changes every day. That's how many of us Texans are waiting on an organ transplant. Now, I just said a few moments ago that I'm a tissue donation professional, and I'll tell you what that means in relation to this. But this has to be said. That list, and there is only a list for organ donation, is represented by men, women, and children of all ages and backgrounds. If there is a person in this room that looks a certain way, and there are people in this room that look every way, as there are when you step out that door, and every one of them belong to a group that is represented on this list. This list adds a new name every 10 minutes, and on average, about 22 people die every day because there's not enough organs to go around. Surely there are 22 people in this room. Imagine that many died today, that many died yesterday, and that many will die tomorrow. There are more people waiting on the list for organs in the United States than could fit into all but the largest of football stadiums in America, including the big one down the road. That gives you some perspective on why there is such a need to have conversations like this. That's the bad news, but here is something that you should know that can help us address that. One person who makes a decision to add their name to the Donate Life Texas registry, there's that name again, Donate Life Texas. It is three things. Those words mean three things. It is a database. That is the database onto which a person can add their name if they want to become an organ donor, organ, eye, and tissue, actually. It is the name of a website, the preeminent website for information about donation, because you're on the fence and you don't know, should I do this? I've heard some things. And people have always heard some things. Usually they don't know where they heard it, but they know stuff. I mean, they really know it. There's something going on tonight where there's some people that just know they know things. They don't know how they know them, but they just know it, and they'll tell you bigly. But with that being said, if you want to know and really know what you know about donation, Donate Life Texas is a website. It is also the name of the registry that belongs to us. So that 10,000 plus people in Texas are going to be directly affected by people who add their name to the registry, the same registry that your name is added to. If you go to the DPS office and you say yes when you are asked the 9-word question, would you like to register as an organ donor? If you say yes, they add your name to that list. What does that mean? It means this. On the left-hand side of that slide are 8 whole organs, 2 lungs, 2 kidneys, a heart, a liver, a small intestine, and a pancreas. That's 8 whole organs from one person that might be used to save lives. Sometimes the liver can be split into 2 pieces. You may be able to see what looks like a line, probably not in that diagram, a line down almost the middle of the liver. It can sometimes be divided once it's surgically recovered. So that if this gentleman in that lady right here are waiting on a liver in a transplant center, and they need a liver transplant, and they have the same blood type, that one liver might be divided and save 2 lives. Also, livers and kidneys are the only organs that can be donated, and the person who donates them can continue their life in full. A kidney, the remaining kidney, only 25% of its function will maintain a very vigorous and healthy lifestyle. You know how I know? Because I got 1 kidney. I'll tell you about that story later, maybe in a conversation we have later when you buy me drinks and a snack. But anyway, let's say you then, as a deceased donor, you donate all 8 organs and that liver is split. That means 9 lives are saved, but there's more. On the right-hand side of this slide, at the very top, you see an eye. I hope you can see it from there. The cornea. That is what eye donation is. We don't pop an eye out of someone's head and pop it into someone else's head. I say it like that because I get that question. Okay? What we're actually taking is the lens-like structure on the front of each eye. One from each eye can go to 2 different people, so that 2 different people's vision might be affected by one corneal donor. Even if the corneal donor is blind, so long as their blindness wasn't caused by a defect or disease to the cornea, something else made them blind, they can still be corneal donors. Even if you've had LASIK, I'm not brave enough myself, which is why I still wear glasses and still can't see. But even if you've had LASIK, you can become a corneal donor because they don't go far enough down to prevent that. So that then raises, we're going to do a little early evening math, 8, maybe 9 whole organ donors, then 1 and 1 on the corneas. That already brings us up to 10 potential lives affected by donation. But the eye is like a big water balloon. You know, there's a lot of really important stuff in the middle, fluid around that, and holding it all together is a tough outer layer or a membrane called the sclera. That can be divided into 4 equal pieces per eye once surgically recovered. And that can be used to repair patches, or used as patches to repair damage to the eye. You know, they used to say, don't run with scissors, you'll fall and poke yourself in the eye. Well, if you do, they might be able to use a patch of sclera to repair that damage. I can't even use that in rooms full of young people because none of them use scissors anymore. They all type on keyboards. But there's some people in here that remembers keyboard or scissors. So that now, 4 and 4 on the sclera, 1 and 1 on the cornea, 10 pieces of ocular tissue, added to 8, maybe 9 whole organs, that's already 18, maybe 19 lives affected by your decision to say yes at the DPS office when you go in and they ask, would you like to register as an organ donor? But there's even more. And that more is something I'm proud to be a part of. As a professional in a tissue donation organization, I work with a group of people who make it possible to surgically recover and distribute bone, skin, veins, ligaments and tendons, nerves, heart valves, both pediatric and adult, dermal tissue as well. All of it can be surgically recovered. We don't say harvest. We don't say harvest. We don't say harvest. You harvest crops in a field. You do not harvest the life-saving gifts of organ, eye, and tissue donation. And I say that, it was funny. I appreciate that. I'm glad. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. Tip your waiters. But I say it because words matter to people. And when they hear harvest, some people are automatically turned off. They respect, even if they don't like, a surgery. You know you are respectful to the body in a surgery. This is a respectful surgical procedure, even tissue donation. And when all of it is performed, if it can all be performed, that is what raises the potential of one organ, eye, and tissue donor to save or heal up to 75 or more lives. We don't engage, my organization, in this work alone. I tell you this because I know that Austin is a town that brings people from everywhere to it, of all kinds, from all places. And what that means is that you may know other parts of Texas that aren't quite as much fun as this part, but the state is in good hands because it takes a team of all these organizations to cover a state as large as Texas. We all together perform organ, eye, and tissue. I want you to know who your partners are here because if you are ever contacted, if you can ever allow other people like myself from these organizations, you have causes, you have places, there are performers in this room, and we would love to perform right alongside you, myself or other colleagues, in getting this message out. There are educators in this room, and I'm taking this opportunity, and any you give me in the future, as will they, to let that group know what it is that we do to save and enhance lives. Here is what it does for people. If you are blind, suffering, one of the 8 million or so people in the world that are suffering from corneal blindness, this is how you see the world. You couldn't see me. You're blinder than I am, and that's saying a lot. This is how you would wake up every single day. A corneal transplant can help correct that. It is done in 30 minutes or less in one of these two procedures. They used to sew it all around the eye when they put the cornea in. Now they make 2 incisions, slide it in, apply a puff of air, it opens, and in 30 minutes, that person goes from this to 2020. That is a 30-minute procedure, 85 or so, I think it's 85 now. Well, it doesn't have it on this slide, but I think it's 85 million of them are done every single year. That gives you some idea of how many people are affected by that. Tissue donation can sometimes be a little bit more nebulous. All of this slide and the one following are examples of tissue donation, what my organization does, from the reconstruction performed for a woman who has won her fight with breast cancer and wants to get back to the aesthetic appearance that she chooses. It may be necessary because she's lost so much tissue to the disease or the fight against the disease that she needs to have tissue from a deceased donor to build a pocket into which an implant can be placed. All the way up to there's a baby in the middle who was born with its internal organs on the outside of its body. That's a death sentence 30 years ago. This slide, I think, has 2004 on it. Even as far back as there, it may be possible to take tissue from a deceased donor, push those organs back into the body, and close the opening using that donated dermal tissue and give that child a first chance at life. We sometimes say in the donation world that donation gives people a second chance at life. That child would not have had any chance without donation. I call this one my bone slide, because almost everything in it is a use for bone, up to and including that foot in the middle that has 7 screws in them. All 7 of those screws are made out of human bone. In years past, it may be metal screws that were used, and you would, after some time, have to go in and take a screw out. And every time you go in, you open that person up to a risk of infection and more recovery time. Allograft tissue is accepted, as are corneas, as the body's own tissue would be, so that there is no risk of infection, which is unique because an organ donor or an organ recipient is going to have to take anti-rejection drugs for the rest of his or her life. Not the case with tissue donation. My phone kind of conked out on me, so forgive me as I turn around to see my slides as I advance them. But this is how we store tissue. That is tissue in a room at room temperature, just like this, on a shelf, prepared and ready, so that when we are called upon, United Tissue Resources, there's my plug that'll make my bosses happy. If any of them are on Twitch, see, I told you I would do this, all right? United Tissue Resources then can run, as we are sitting here, there are professionals delivering this tissue for life-changing procedures across Central and South Texas, even as we speak. And some of that tissue is stored, heart valves in this case, at super-cooled conditions, negative 195 Celsius. I hear the moon is negative 220. but that's life-saving. There are babies being born at Dell Children's Medical Center and other places who would not have a chance were it not for the fact that this tissue is made available by other families who have suffered an incredible loss. When do you go to a hospital expecting a positive outcome? My cardiologist, hint, hint about me, told me only babies and boob jobs. You know you're going to come out happy with that, right? But what if you didn't? You got bad news. And those heroic parents thought beyond their grief and allowed their child to be considered to help save the life of other children. That's what happens. So now, I've told you who I am and who we are and what we do. Now I'm at the how you can help portion of this. And then I'm going to open it up to questions, and I hope you pepper me with them. So this is what your driver's license looks like now. And that small black heart, used to be red, still might be red in the pockets of some of you, is how you designate that you are a donor. But here is an important thing. That, I see this gentleman checking, is not what's important. It's important because every time he pulls it out, it shows he's made this decision. But what's really important is getting your name on the Donate Life Texas registry. And if you've done so at DPS, because only DPS prints driver licenses. Did y'all know it wasn't driver's license? I found out because I said it wrong and they corrected me. It's driver licenses, and only DPS prints them. If you do it there and say yes, they will put the heart on your license. But it's okay. If you don't have it, you can still be on the registry. The registry is digital. Texas is advanced. Yeah. See, I let that hang for a second because I knew I was going to get that. Let me tell you how it's advanced. Since 2006, this is one thing we got right, one of the first in the nation. Our registry is now up to 15 million plus, which makes it second in size only to California, and they're 10 years ahead of us, and we're catching. Almost 1 million people per year in Texas say yes. People of all stripes who are rooting both ways in the debate tonight, they all have said yes. This county, I'm from Louisiana, excuse me, I almost said parish. This county, 18 years and up, that's when you can legally make the decision yourself. And in this county, did you realize 84% of us have said yes and registered? Now, I'm gonna make you see that you shouldn't be too proud. Our country cousins in Williamson County, 94%. Yes. So it's not just one side or the other who are saying yes to this and seeing the importance. And I'm so happy. This is the registry, or I'm sorry, the web page. There's a drop-down menu. I've shown you where it is, even though the page may look a little different. It's going to be in the same location. And then you need to do this. As I come around the curve, round third coming to home, it is very important. You register and then talk to the person in your life that you have designated would be making decisions when you can't anymore, when you are unconscious. Because, unfortunately, when you make this decision, aside from donating a kidney as a live donor or a portion of your liver, you're probably going to be unconscious at the time that you become a donor. It is important that the people in your life don't have to make a decision about this at the first time they've ever heard it, when we hope they're mourning your loss. And Matlock, or whomever is your favorite detective, hasn't had to decide why it is that you are becoming a donor. That was a bad joke. All right. Have that conversation now while everyone is in a good mood. Let them tell you, that's icky. I would never do that. That's fine. I didn't ask you to do it. I want to do it. Let me do it. Think about this. You write a will. And everything, and you have that perfect set of earrings. You know exactly to whom you want them to go. And they are now reading your will to all the people in your life that mattered. And that one cousin, we all got that one cousin. That one cousin shows up and says, I don't care who they said these earrings should have gone to, they should go to me. If your lawyer was to then give those earrings to that person, how you might feel like, I'll come back from the grave and haunt you for this. This is a decision about your body. If you would take time to write a will about what happens to your stuff, why wouldn't you do so about your body? That's what this conversation is about. After you register, have that conversation. So I'm getting toward the end of my time. I don't need to go through all of the myths and misconceptions. They're on the website. Can I have an open casket funeral if I become a donor? Yes, you can. Does my religion allow me to become a donor? Yes, it does. All major religions in the United States, except Shinto monks and gypsies, have come out with a statement saying donation is the ultimate form of charity, or have left it up to the decision of the individual themselves to make this decision. Others are listed, and the facts, just the facts, are there on the website. I'll skip over how we take care of our families. Perhaps you will ask me, what do they get out of this? At this time, I'd like to do this. I'm going to open the floor up to a discussion, but I want to thank you for having me. You nerds are all right. And now, question and answer.
All right, y'all. So for people who haven't been here before, the way that questions work at Nerd Night is that you raise your hand, and I'm going to come over, bring the microphone to you, and you're going to ask your question. And that way people can hear it even at home on Twitch, and it also makes it sound better in the recording. Now, with that being said, I do want to emphasize we want questions, not monologues or position statements. So keep it concise and tight.
We can have that discussion right afterward.
What's that?
If they have that, we can be right over there and have those discussions.
Perfect, perfect. So yes, with that being said, who's got the first question? I do believe Mickey does. Oh my goodness. Works out.
Well, hello. Being as how it's Pride Month, happy Pride, everyone. Is your organization doing any outreach for Pride?
We are. The Donate Life community is a national community. Donate Life Texas belongs to us because we are, of course, in Texas. But every year during Pride Month, things have generally changed. Year by year, the rules regarding donation in communities that celebrate Pride change. One of the biggest changes happened with our cousins, if you will, in blood. You may all have recently been made aware that now some of the prohibitions against certain communities donating blood have been lifted in those communities. All right? We can clap for that. I would love to clap. I can't take credit for it, but I'm glad that it was done. The FDA, as opposed to Center for Medicaid and Medicare Services, regulates organ just like it does blood donation. And they have allowed organ donation among all communities now. Unfortunately, in the tissue world where I work and in the corneal transplantation world, the Center for Medicare and Medicaid Services has not lifted those prohibitions. And one of the things that means is this. First of all, these are all federal laws. We've seen a sea tide of change, some we like, some we don't, in those things recently. I hope that sea tide changes for the better in this regard. But it's escaping me. I'm having a senior moment in real time here. The act that was put into place by President Obama allows for the first time ever, this is the phrasing used in this world, men who have had sex with men can now donate organs to people who are willing to receive them. Tissue and dye is something that can be stored. The need for an organ is so immediate. HOPE Act, I'm sorry, I should have known. That should have come with Obama. The HOPE Act, 2014 was when it was enacted. The HOPE Act made that possible. And because of it, people who need organs can say, I don't care where this organ comes from as the donor, I will receive it. For years, that wasn't allowed. We're waiting for that type of change in the tissue and eye world, but because the difference between them is that an organ is in such immediate need, I showed you before, people are even more desperate to get them. You can't store them like you can tissue or eye. So people will say yes if it means the benefits outweigh the risk for me. I will mention this quickly and get right back to the Q&A. I had this presented to me. And I do this, I'm like the old hair club for men commercial. I'm not just a customer, I'm the president. I've had 2 heart transplants. This was one of my donor families. My first heart transplant was performed at Seton Medical Center, Austin. My second was as well, 1999 and 2020 respectively. This family saying yes to donation, I hope I have this right, yes, allowed me to see these guys. These are 2, 4, 6, 7 of my, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 of my grandchildren. I have 10 now. None of them were born before my transplant. And I was asked the question, would I receive what they called a high-risk heart that would have come from any potential donor? If that person wanted to be a donor, would I accept that heart? And I said yes. And if I had not, I might not have gotten a chance to be here with you tonight, and I certainly wouldn't have gotten a chance to go and feed the hungry princess that you see at the very top in pink. She's now 16 years old and probably wondering where her dinner is. So that is why you see I am always up for change, because I want more people to have the opportunity to do what I've done. I hope that answered that question. Please, more.
All right. Outstanding. All right, so I'm going to head over here, and then I'm going to come back towards the middle. So, little workout.
Hey, I was curious how the wait list works. Like, is it a first come, like first serve, or like a triage situation?
It is sickest first, meaning that the list is blind. If you go on the list, as I have twice, or anyone in this room goes on the list, you are listed by number only. So it's not about gender, it's not about wealth, fame, though there are famous people that have gotten organs before, and certainly we know about them. George Lopez, for example, comes to mind. Sean Elliott played several years for the Spurs after he received it. Alonzo Mourning did as well. Sarah Hyland, if you watch Modern Family, one of our favorites, she received a kidney transplant. Selena Gomez was on TV just last night, and they're all advocates. But it's not about fame. It is about who is sickest. Again, you're on the front row, so I'm picking on these two people. All right, you're in the same transplant center, Seton Medical Center, Austin, waiting on a heart. The blood type is the same, everything matches, you're a similar size, you're ready to go. You're a status 1 because machines are keeping you alive and you would die otherwise. A heart becomes available, you have a cold that day. He gets the heart. And the reason is, a cold, funny I coughed as I said that, the reason is so many conditions have to be right for your body to accept that heart and maintain it afterward. Your immune system is suppressed so much, those kinds of decisions have to be made precisely because there's not enough organs to go around. The more people that register, perhaps the more organs that are made available. But again, that's a matter of someone dying. We aren't waiting for people to die. People die every day. What we're trying to do is maximize the potential of everyone who is going to die. Father Time is undefeated, Charles Barkley. All right. When you die, can we maximize your potential to save lives? That's what the list and the registry is about.
All right. We're just knocking these questions out of the park. Such high quality. What you got?
How much would presumed consent move the needle on saving lives?
All right, so he said, if you are in the back, let me define it quickly. He said, how much would presumed consent move the needle? Opt out is another way to put that. There are countries where when you're born, you're automatically a donor. Spain always comes to mind, though people don't know as much about Spain as they think they know. There are other countries that are opt-out countries as well, and Spain has had some issues with that. All right, so let's go back to what else is going on tonight. I'm sure there's discussions about freedom as we speak. All right, as we're having it, and if you go on the Facebook, there's probably even more discussions about freedom. Opt out sounds like a wonderful idea. You're born a donor, right? We live in America where there's already divisions about each and everything. We would hope in a perfect world that if people are born donors and then they die and then they automatically save lives, that would be the answer to this problem. The problem with that thinking is, think about how divisive people are over every issue, and if they start thinking, like they already do, that people are out there stealing organs, that's not what we wanted, and then the media gets a hold of it, is the media going to report it even the way that I had started this discourse, that people, adults, made a decision, or that the government in that case made a decision? Or are they going to say, the way they do now, they are down there stealing those organs? So what we try to do is informed consent, meaning that conversation I told you to have earlier with your family, register and you help convince the people in your life that this is what you want. And even if that's not what they want, respect your wishes like they would for your earrings, right? If you wrote it in your will, respect who my earrings should go to, respect who my kidneys should go to. In a country like America that seems, I should have the flag waving and music should be playing. In a country like America, so founded on freedom, the idea of freedom, we would hope that people would make that decision and come to it on their own, because we certainly can't tell or make people think we're telling them to do anything. Though that discussion, sir, is one that's being had. I mean, there are a lot of people that feel strongly, and of course, as being the president, customer and the president, I tend to lean the way you said that. Anyone else, please?
All right, we got time for at least one more question if it's a high quality, excellent question.
Oh, high quality.
No pressure. No pressure. All right.
You can ask me anything, by the way. I'm not embarrassed to answer, even in a public forum.
Well, I have a question.
Yes.
So you are a recipient, and you know the donor families.
I know one of them.
Oh, you know one of them. Okay. So what is there anything that's done to kind of commemorate that connection or honor that connection?
So if you are ever in, there's several things. First of all, there's a National Donate Life Month, which is April. It's our busiest period of advocacy. And all across the country, people like me do things like this and others in conjunction with the efforts of hospitals, of news organizations, print media, digital media, whatever. If you go online now, oh, this is where I was given specific instructions, by the way. That's the registry. Donate Life Texas, remember that? Donate Life Texas, Donate Life Texas, Donate Life Texas, like Beetlejuice. Then here's your call to action. And this is how I want you to connect with me, all right? Because as she said, is there an effort ongoing? These are our United Tissue Resources social handles, and you find us there. You will get a bird's eye view of the work that we do. Please like and follow. I encourage it. This discourse continues 365 days a year here. I know because I run it, all three of these. And even after this, I'll be taking some pictures if they let me, or using whatever is used to say that I had the privilege of speaking to this organization. So yes, there is an ongoing effort to try to enlist more people as soldiers in the effort to get the word out about donation and its benefits, and also to myth bust. I will be here for as long as you need me to be. I will give you information to connect with me later. I know there's another presenter, and I want to give them their due. I actually want to see this, okay? But, I want you to feel comfortable to reach out to me at any time. The other thing that Mrs. Bradshaw, in her infinite wisdom, says is that I'm married to another woman, and here she is, okay? Which means that you can reach me at any time you have an issue, question, or concern, and I will be there to answer it. So with that, I want to be respectful of my time and of the second presenter's time, and thank you again for your rapt attention.